Good afternoon, good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Yankee Cowboy podcast. I'm your host, Tim Wilkins, and today's edition, it's a fun topic. It is just like the Super Bowl, but with four tires and four wheels, and you go fast and you turn left. It is the Daytona 500. It is a national holiday in racing. It is the Americana of all things. It is what makes America great. It is the Daytona 500. Chris, I appreciate you joining me again because I'll be remiss. This is the beginning of an amazing season of NASCAR with so many awesome, and I mean boring ass storylines. Because there isn't other thing than just going, hey, we just crowned Ryan Blaney the champion less than 8 weeks ago. What else you want to do? I don't know. How about we go to Florida and drive fast and turn left, see what the hell happens? So, Chris, appreciate you joining me, buddy, because, you know, it's a lot better than talking about the Clash. So let's get to it.
Yeah, man. I think, obviously heading into Daytona this weekend, still, I think a lot of people are remiss to the fact there was no practice, before qualifying for the Daytona 500, which I think to a lot of people is crazy.
Is it
They'll,
me, dude? Is it me, dude, or is it worthy? Has NASCAR gotten away from completely practice at all? Like, I know it's a mantra. There's a meme for freak's sakes about practice, but I think a lot of the stuff that's going out with this new car or alludes to with this new car could be kind of avoided and tested out if they actually gave these guys a good amount of practice every week. You know, they're barely getting an hour of track time a week. Is that what's going on?
yeah, I mean, this weekend's
I
going to
know it's
be
Daytona,
kind
but
of
come
a
on, dude.
kind of a more conventional weekend, but there will be two practices, both Friday and then one on Saturday, both 50-minute practices, but in terms of the amount of track time. I mean, obviously significantly less than what it used to be. And I
Dude, you
think,
used to have guys. You used to have Chris. You used to have guys. They would qualify. I think it was on Saturday or Sunday before the 500. They would go home from Monday to Thursday, come back, do the Gatorade 125s, the dual races, and then be ready for the 500.
yeah,
Like
no,
this speed weeks, in my opinion, have become watered down, dude. Like okay. Here's another thing. So, mind you, you can spare me 5 minutes here on this soapbox, but the Clash should never, ever, ever, ever move west of the damn Mississippi. Fucking morons. Put everything back at Daytona. Have everybody that's ever hit a pole winner for that previous year qualify for the Clash at Daytona and move on with your life. And there's no previous winner bullshit. It's just the only way you get in is by being a pole winner from the previous year. This is ridiculous, dude. That Clash sucked. Dude, a drunken monkey driving around the fucking a football would be better than watching what we watched at the Clash. It was terrible.
let
Just
us know how you
fucking
really
terrible.
feel.
Just fucking terrible.
Well, I think you're going to get your wish that it's no longer going to be at the LA Coliseum, but unfortunately, we don't know what the future holds for that event. I don't think anyone in the sport, I mean, maybe the folks way up above know, but for now, nobody really has an idea of what the future might look like for the Clash. Obviously, we think it's not going anywhere. Obviously it's a,
Well,
they're not.
I think, Chris, I think it got watered down completely for the last, I don't know, 20 years because they allowed every past winner of the previous race to get in. And
Yeah,
then you had, same thing with the All Star race every year. Like it's the same watered down shit every year. It's like, what's the point? What if you're an owner of a race team? What's the incentive to do the Clash? Oh, you want a wreck race car? Cool. You want to drive 3,000 miles on a rig and then your team unload and drive for about 4 hours and get on a private plane to drive a 4 hour flight back? No, no. I mean, at least
yeah,
with Daytona, the guys had an excuse to do it because it was good on track time, right? It was a wait. I mean, hypothetically, no, it wasn't a waste of time, but like it just, I don't know, man. Like I just, that was mind bogglingly stupid. then listen, I can't predict Mother Nature, Chris. I don't think anyone can. Mother Nature is undefeated. But at the same time, you literally push up the race. What was it? Saturday night? Yeah, it was Saturday night.
Yeah, Saturday night.
So originally that was the day that the supposed to be the heat races, right? That was I think the original schedule was that.
Races,
yeah. Yeah, that was the original schedule. So then you go, oh fuck, it's raining a shit ton in California, which global warming my ass, you liberals. And you really just go, okay, we're gonna try to get this sucker in. I don't know about you, man, but that track, you probably could have put that anywhere else, and I think it would have been a better product. But I think the format isn't the issue. It's how you qualify. To me, it should be just pole winners. Whoever won a pole, because being on a pole, by the way, used to be an awesome event. You are one of the best qualifiers of the weekend. Okay, if it rains out, well, guess what? No pole winner. Shocking. It's amazing how, not everybody needs to get a trophy every day, but only pole winners of legitimate qualifying sessions will qualify. That's just what I hypothetically think about this. Dale Jr. talks about it. I don't think he had a bad idea. And I just, dude, that's my soapbox for 5 minutes because it's just ridiculous. Like, you watered down the product because now there's no excitement. There's no storylines leading into this race at all. None.
That's true.
There is nothing for the media to talk about for 2 fucking weeks. Not even longer than that. Because the Clash ultimately sucked. And you have, Denny Hamlin. Ooh, shocking. You won the Clash. He's already a rich motherfucker. Like, come on. Like, congratulations, whatever. Move on, next thing, right? But still very, very just way to start a NASCAR season is to piss off your fan base. There you go. Supposedly, going into this race, though, Chris, it's kind of important, I guess, for Daytona fans. I guess there's some new R&D changes between Chevy and I believe Ford and Toyota. So do you want to get into any of that, or you want to let that become mysterious?
Obviously, looking towards this season, both Ford and Chevy have brand new cars that they will be racing. The new Ford Mustang Dark Horse is Ford's newest vehicle, and then Toyota has a new version of the Camry. So the only make does not have a brand new vehicle is Chevrolet. And this is actually this is actually the final model year of the Camaro. So nobody really knows obviously what they will be racing in 2025, but at least for 2024 they will be running the same car that they ran last year. So will be interesting to see what happens from a performance perspective and a balance perspective. I think, make no mistake about it, I think the Fords felt like they were definitely behind. Granted, obviously Ford swept all 3 championships last year, but they certainly felt like they were behind, as it came to, some of the aero stuff last year, especially on the mile and a halfs and tracks like that. So, the Fords tend to always be pretty good on the super speedway type tracks. So Daytona, Talladega, and you also throw in Atlanta too, with it being a drafting type track. So, so it'll be interesting to see. I think, we really won't kind of get an idea. I think through the first couple of races, obviously Daytona being a drafting race, and then Atlanta is a drafting race. So when we get to excuse me, when we get to Vegas here in a couple of weeks, I think that's going to be where we'll kind of see where the Fords and the Toyotas stack up in terms of their new vehicles.
So, Chris, what you're telling me is the first 2 weeks of the season are pretty much snooze fests, is what you're saying?
No, I mean, I think it's just, from the perspective of it's, you're just not, it's hard to really, when the draft plays such a big factor, I think it obviously can cover up a lot of deficiencies that, a car or a team may have, when they're just in the draft, with other guys. So I think once we get to a track where, aero and grip and stuff like that plays more of a factor, in, in Vegas, I think that'll that we'll definitely see where that goes.
And I think you're alluding to what we in this world of sports watching like to know as Daytona is literally the biggest crapshoot other than Las Vegas So it really is the most. You want to roll the dice and see what the hell happens and stick 42 cards or 43 cards in close spaces and expect professionals to stay nice and tame for 200 laps. That's kind of what doesn't happen. Daytona, literally, it can be a boring race, especially if it's not pack racing and it's just tandems or the race has evolved over the last 10 or so years. But I think
No,
it's back
absolutely.
to the old ways, huh?
No, absolutely. No, I was agreeing with
Yeah,
you for sure.
yeah. So I was gonna say the nowadays I think it's back to the old method of Daytona where it's packed out and a lot of guys will, as they call it, pull the pin. They give up. They drop to the back. There's guys that are very aggressive in the beginning. It's just a matter of what people's preferences are, and I think this year's Daytona 500 to me is really like I said. You roll the dice, you flip a coin, and you can pretty much, if you want to pick anyone, you really can pick anybody to win these races because that's how restricted plate racing works. It even levels the playing field for everybody, and universally across the board, Daytona is and always will be a fandom that is just paramount to racing. It is. I know a lot of like casual NASCAR fans may not enjoy this race. That's perfectly fine. You will enjoy it though. If you want to go watch the start of the race and then miss out the first hour and a half, that's completely fine. You may not miss much, but then you tune in for the last 40 laps of that race, and then you kind of know who the best of the best are and what they're coming to watch. That's the name of the game. If you're a NASCAR fan, it really is. The dual races, Chris. I think we can kind of universally. I mean, we can try to pick our. They even picked who's in which one yet.
Yeah, I guess I know we talked about for the show of picking who's going to win the duels. I think I kind of jumped the gun on that because obviously we're not going to know the lineups until qualifying on Wednesday night. We're taping this tonight before qualifying, so yeah, so probably need to pump the brakes on that one. But I think we can also say there's 42 cars that are on the entry list
Yeah, I just pulled up the entry
for
list now here.
for the 500, and obviously 40 cars will start. So
That's a
two
bunch of
drive.
crap too. Let those guys put 42 cars out there again. We haven't had a 42 car field since when? Like it was what?
Well, I think they reduced the fields. I think back in like 2015 or 2016 from
Yeah,
43
bullshit,
to 40.
bullshit,
So
bullshit.
and then obviously they consider 36 cars a full field. That's the number of charters that are
Boo,
available.
boo. Okay,
Looking at.
here's my thing. It's Daytona. Okay, let's be real. There's about 10 driving parks. Okay, maybe 7. Let's go with 7. About 7 driving parks. There's 2 guys that don't have charters. Or is it 3 teams that don't have charters now? I think it's 3 teams that don't have charters. So here's my thing. What's wrong with having 42 or 43 on the biggest race of the year? Is there any legitimacy reason why not? There's no safety. Hell, you can't argue safety. It's Daytona. They don't.
Yeah,
They,
I mean, it's hard to say why they've. I mean, that was.
we're not at Talladega, so Ryan Newman may be upright on all 4 wheels if he raced. Just saying.
The challenge I think is obviously we just don't obviously it's just changed now with the business model. It's really changed over the last few years going from with the charter
So
system and stuff.
are you saying we're turning into Formula One now? We don't want too many drivers in there, so we can ruin the prize pool.
Yeah, when you start
Oh,
splitting them, you start splitting the money, 36, 37 ways. I mean, there's, and again, I don't know the dollars and cents figures that go into running a cup team, but obviously many owners have said that it's very, very difficult to justify run a car without a charter in the Cup Series. So,
so for everyone keeping track at home and on your television sets here and on your news feeds, I'm talking about the Andretti situation of not being allowed to race in Formula One because, whatever. That's what I was basically alluding to. It's become a downright disgrace, if you ask me. That's why I don't watch Formula One anymore. Why? I mean, to me, competition breeds more competition, and Formula One's more. You want to talk about a snooze fest? Yeah, watch a Formula One race. Pretty snoozy. NASCAR is an American motorsports, my friend. It's a tradition. So just like Daytona is a tradition, it's one of the crown jewels of NASCAR. When you become a Daytona 500 champion, your name is etched in history forever. Also, this race has some synonymous black clouds over it. Obviously, this is the race where Dale Earnhardt Sr. passed away in 2001. So this track does have some history that pretty much keeps into NASCAR history. And will we see a new winner? Will we see the same, I don't know, 10 names? Who knows, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, obviously anything can happen in a race like this. I mean, you look at the last couple of winners of the event, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. last year, Austin Cindric the year before, Michael McDowell, in 2021. I mean, it's the surprises there, there is no, surprises have happened in this event quite a bit over the years. So, but then you look at guys like Denny Hamlin, who's a 3-time winner, guys like Kyle Busch, Ryan Blaney, who are still without a Daytona 500 crown. It's this event you gotta, there's a lot of, obviously you gotta have a fast race car, but you also, in a way have to have some luck there at the end, especially once the the gloves come off and things really start to get crazy up front there late in the race. It's, there's definitely a little bit of luck that goes into staying in with a chance to win.
I will say that, like I told all the fans a little while ago, you can pretty much, watch the beginning of the race, first 5-10 laps, come back with the last 40 laps to go, and be enjoying and be entertained. It just really depends on your fandom. I like to enjoy all 200 laps, just what I like to do. But I think you precluded to some of the names that are kind of expected to win, and some that are kind of like, hey, who's that guy? And then you got the ones that are like, hey, that's Danica Patrick's ex-boyfriend from like 10 years ago. That won finally at the Daytona 500 after I don't know how many times wrecking. The most aggressive plate racer of all time is Ricky Stenhouse. Most aggressive guy, always up there in the top 10 with about 40 laps to go, usually. And then something stupid happens, or maybe he's there at the end. It's a crapshoot. That's what Daytona is. That's what Daytona always will be, is a crapshoot. Do we want to go with our winners, or you want anything else on your mind? Any bones to pick there, Chris? Anything?
No. I think we've
So we call this the Geico Insurance 7,200, or we?
I think we've covered everything, man. I think going, maybe picking who we think will be hoisting the Harley J. Earl Trophy. Well, weather's not looking so good for Sunday, so barring hopefully raising the Harley J. Earl Trophy on Sunday and hopefully not Monday, for this race.
Oh, so you're telling me there's a chance?
Well, there's a chance of rain.
Well, there's always a chance of rain. It's Daytona. Yeah. If you want to talk about Florida weather, just wait. Look at the other side of the street. It might be raining on your side of the street, but if you walk across the street, it may not be raining. Yep. It's like how it is in Texas, by the way. Just wait 30 minutes. You might actually warm up about 20 degrees. But
exactly,
it is a magical experience. By the way, our hearts and prayers, our T's and P's go to all the ones in Northeast right now getting snow-palooza on right now. But that being said, the pick of Daytona, I personally, Chris, cannot fathom a Ford not winning this race. Okay. I think Blaney has won Talladega after many follow-up and, second place finishes. He is synonymous with almost winning the race that Ryan Newman literally slid up on the hill. There's many events that go around the bush, but I think it's definitely a Ford. I think someone out of the Penske organization might win. And not to sound like a complete fanboy, Would it be awesome to start the storylines of the year to having the champion of the previous year win the race? Absolutely. Then I might be calling the NASCAR season rigged, but not going to do that. To me, there were so many in the last few years, Chris. There's also been so many winners that you always kind of have the underdog story, and I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with Josh Berry.
Mm.
I'm gonna go Josh Berry, and the reason why I'm going with Josh Berry is if any other team in the Ford camp needs a shot in the arm, it is Stewart-Haas Racing. They need something. They really do. They need something good to fall their way to start the year, and I think Josh Berry will surprise people. I understand that it might be the storyline talking conversation about Josh Berry. Anyone keeping track at home, Josh Berry, former junior motorsports driver, driven how many seasons in the Xfinity level? Multiple short track. I call him a short track savant. Definitely a short track. So this kind of style of track is definitely not what most people remember him for, but he's raced here before. He's not some stooge. I'm not saying I'm going against Team Penske here, but I'm going for like a dark horse underdog pick.
No pun intended.
Yeah.
Well,
Josh, yeah, nice job. I know. I try very well. I try. At least someone has to. Hell, I could even go Corey LaJoie to make you feel better. Okay, if Trump is on his car, we're all going to win something good. I think the over under on that's like good times. Oh, actually, I forgot. NASCAR has a rule now. We can't do that anymore. But because NASCAR has to water down everything. So Josh Berry is my pick, and I would say my backup pick, if I have to do a backup pick, would be the last year's champion, Mr. Ryan Blaney. Those are my two picks. I see a Ford winning this race. I'm sorry, Chevy, but you can't push a pusher. You can't draft well. And the Toyota is just boo Toyota. Okay, I'm not a Toyota fan. So no Joe Gibbs. Nope. And that'll be a hell nah to the nah for 2311 Racing. So especially that young kid in the car. Oh yeah, I'm trying to remember his name now. The young kid, the grandson of the Joe Gibbs. Oh yes. Oh yeah, yes. The silver spoon in the mouth. Yes. Not choosing him either. Not doing that. So, and definitely not picking the owner either. Not doing that. So I'm gonna leave it up to you, bud. Let your picks go here. Who do you think?
yeah. No, I actually that's a good pick with Josh Berry. I think I'm going to stick in the Ford camp too, and I'm going to pick a former Penske driver who I think has put himself in position numerous times to win, has not won since he left Penske at the end of 2021. And I think he'll finally break through and win the Daytona 500 and get back to victory lane. I'm going to pick Brad Keselowski. Brad is synonymously one of the best it's not restrictor plate racing anymore, but super speedway racers in NASCAR. He's a 6-time winner at Talladega, has ran up front in last year's 500 and the 500 before that, nearly won last year at Atlanta. Pushed his teammate Chris Buescher to the win in the August race last year. At some point, Brad is gonna have to push through, and I think this Sunday or whenever we get the race in, Brad Keselowski will become a Daytona 500 champion. So he's my top pick to win the 500. I think for a backup driver, I'm gonna pick. I think I'm also going to stick in the Ford camp. I think the Fords have just proven to be really, really good on the super speedway tracks.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to pick last year's Cup champion. I'm actually going to pick the champ from the year before that. I'm going to pick Joey Logano as the backup. To win.
He's meme. He's meme worthy. If you saw Chris, I tell you, Joey Logano can block the dude. He ain't block. No one's passing him at that track, dude. There's a meme for a reason of him.
People forget too. Last year in the 500, if the caution didn't come out, Joey was going to pass Ricky Stenhouse back for the lead there. So,
Mm-hmm.
so I think again, a lot can happen over 500, sometimes 500 plus miles. But I think, I think when it comes down to it, for the most part, not, I'll take this back because obviously Austin Cindric won the 500 2 years ago, but you know, experience sometimes plays a factor, and I think that there are guys who, are really really good at in the draft, and I think that those are my two picks, but I do think for sure that the blue oval is gonna be in victory lane in the Daytona 500.
Now, not to be remiss here, and we made our picks here, and I really genuinely want people to understand this, that there is two newcomers to this season of racing that I'm more interested in seeing how they do in a cup car, and that's Zane Smith and Carson Hocevar. Very interested and very intrigued on how they perform here. You got the old man, Jimmy Johnson, in the car again. Hopefully he doesn't wreck the whole field again. Yeah, I went there. Sorry about it.
Jimmy's got well, first. Jimmy's got to make the race. I mean, that's what Jimmy's got to make the race because he's not locked in. So he's, and I don't believe he's not eligible for there is no past champions provisional. So Jimmy's got to get the number 84 car locked in to the 500 first before we can even think about what he might do during the race.
Yeah, they'll be a little bummed out if he just went home, just don't. Because I mean, listen, I think legitimately that man should, if he is the winningest cup champion in the modern era. So why doesn't he just get in his car every week and try to make the race on qualifying? If he's the best of the best, let him get in the car every week and qualify based on time. But he doesn't want to do that because his contract doesn't let him do that. But I mean, Chris, I think the Daytona 500, knowingly, there's some other guys in there that could very well shake this whole field up that are rookies. And I know Josh Berry was my pick. It's very different nowadays in the world of NASCAR when you see some of the names on here going, yeah, I could see him up front. Or, nah, I can't see him up front. Maybe not. There's guys up here that you're like, for example, John Hunter Nemechek. There's some pedigrees in this race and names that are just, they're going to surprise you this year. Am I surprised? Not at all. Hocevar, Zane Smith, Hunter Nemechek, you got Ryan Preece in here. You got guys in here that really have nothing to lose other than just to win a race. Makes it intriguing. Makes it fun. Also, you got a past champion that wants to win the 500. You also have guys that have won the 500 that want to repeat. It's going to be an interesting weekend. Hopefully it doesn't rain. Knock on wood. And we actually get it in on Sunday. Because some people have lives and have things to take care of on Monday. So, appreciate you joining me, Chris. We hopefully have a good weekend. By the way, the NFL is rigged. Yep, that's right. I said it. And hopefully NASCAR is not the same. But hopefully everyone has a good weekend, enjoys the 500. Unlike this past weekend, everyone have a good weekend. Have a good week. Chris, thanks for joining me, buddy. We're out.
Yes, sir.